Hello, my name is Autumn Wooten, and this is my term presentation project for Intro Interpersonal Communications.
Similarities and differences between the transmission, interaction, and transaction models of communication by Autumn Wooten. Models of communication. Transmission model of communication. The transmission model of communication is an intentional message sent directly to a listener. This is a linear process and occurs when two people are communicating. The speaker directly speaks to the listener. Barriers that can affect the transmission model include when the listener doesn't pay enough attention to the speaker, which will determine effectiveness of the delivery of information. Transmission model visual. Interaction model of communication. The interaction model is when two people communicating with one another take turns being the speaker and receiver in the conversation. This is a way to generate meaning through physical and psychological messages being sent and received by both people. Anything has the potential to obstruct the messages being exchanged between the two in the conversation. However, examples of barriers include any distraction, language barrier, too much or too little feedback. Interaction model visual. Transaction model of communication. The transaction model of communication is when the speaker in a conversation is intentionally conveying information to a listener or teaching the listener. This conversation could be anything from culture to social and more. The listener then deciphers the information and learns its meaning. The purpose of this model is how we send, receive, and learn information. Examples that create barriers in the effectiveness of this form of communication are background noise, distractions, and context. Transaction model visual. Similarities and differences. Similarities in these communication models. The similarities between these three models are elements that make up the conversations, which include a sender and receiver, message delivery, response, noise, physical and verbal communicating, context understanding, and distractions affecting message transfer. Differences in these communication models. The difference in these communication models include the way the message is delivered and what the message is trying to convey, whether or not the message was sent, the process, interaction, and engagement can also be a difference. Real-world examples of the transmission, interaction, and transaction models. Transmission model example. An example of the transmission model could be a radio broadcast where the radio announcer is communicating a message over the radio waves directly to the listener, but things like static, poor connection, and any other type of interference could disrupt the message and affect the message being delivered. Text messaging is another example where the communicator is talking over messages, but things like poor signal or typos can affect the message being communicated. Interaction model example. An example of the interaction model is a classroom discussion. In a classroom, a teacher presents a topic or teaches a lesson, and students respond with answers or share their own thoughts and opinions. Here come conversations spark off of one another, and everyone takes turns being the listener and communicator. Transaction model example. An example of this would be having a deep conversation with a friend where they are telling you important information or an important story where you are the listener and you process what they are saying to generate meaning and create understanding. Another example of this would be a parent teaching their child a valuable lesson where the child learns from this. Sources. Thank you. Autumn Wooten.